For more on this, let's speak to Santaco's Western Cape chairperson, Mandla Hermanus. Mandla, very good evening to you. Welcome to the program. So the City of Cape Town says it's merely implementing national traffic law. If that is the case, why then are you so upset?
If that was the case, then why is this issue of impoundment only unique to the Western Cape if it's a National Land Transport Act? Because the National Land Transport Act does not say you must absolve the drivers of any responsibility when they drive our vehicles. But the City of Cape Town is shifting all the responsibility from the people that we have employed to drive these vehicles, people who've got licenses to do that, and that responsibility have been shifted to the operators. How can it be that your vehicle is impounded because the person who was driving it did not wear a safety belt? It's crazy.
What would you like to happen then?
We want the city to review its approach to law enforcement and stop targeting the taxi industry. Especially, it's not just targeting the taxi industry. It's actually, the idea is to remove our taxis from the road, maybe to make way for my city without us. What we are saying is, we're not saying there should be lawlessness. We agree there are instances where vehicles will have to be impounded. For example, we know we have a responsibility to ensure that our vehicles are safe, our vehicles are roadworthy, our vehicles have operating licenses, our vehicles are driven by drivers who are legally compliant in terms of driver's licenses and PDPs. We agree about that. So in those instances, we've got no issues. Vehicles may be impounded in terms of the NLTA. But what is currently happening is not that. Every infringement and any infringement results in the impoundment of a taxi. That is not in terms of the National Land Transport Act.
What then should be the punishment, Mandla, in cases like the city is saying where taxi drivers are moving about recklessly, endangering other motorists, parking in areas, or stopping, in areas where it's simply unsafe to do? What should be done in those instances?
There is the National Land Transport Act that deals with that. Where a driver is endangering lives, those drivers should be arrested as it's stipulated in the NLTA. There are all sorts of sanctions and punishments that are stipulated in the NLTA to deal with all kinds of violations by operators and by drivers. What we are crying about is that the City of Cape Town is shifting the responsibility from the drivers. Drivers have got agency. They are human beings. They are not robots. They've got driver's licenses. They've got responsibilities. They have to be held accountable for their actions. That's the only way they will change the driving behavior, is if they are held accountable. They are punished for how they drive. But this is not what is happening. This is aimed at dismantling the taxi industry.
And how are you as an industry holding these drivers, who are basically your employees, accountable? What are you doing to make sure that they're not doing as they please? Because whichever part of the country you go to, you hear similar stories about how taxi drivers are a law unto themselves. They stop where they want to stop, and even when it's unsafe to move, they do it anyway.
Only law enforcement can fine, can arrest drivers when they are on the road. There have been programs here in the Western Cape, piloted by the Western Cape government, to look at ways where the industry can actually be in control of what is happening on the ground, even if we are not there. It's impossible for you to know if you've got 2 or 3 taxis. It's practically impossible for you to know what taxi driver is doing what, where, at any given time.
But is that not you then washing your hands of the responsibility to oversee and monitor the conduct of your workers like any other company would do its workers?
You are missing the point. What I'm getting at is there are programs, we've piloted it here in the Western Cape, where we were able to monitor our drivers using technology, using branded vehicles, using unique codes that were able to identify a vehicle, so that if there was a report that a vehicle is doing ABC, we were able to, by checking the code, to know that who is the driver, who is the owner of that vehicle, where is it supposed to operate. So we were able to take action because we were in charge. But that program was taken away from us. And we have been saying, as the taxi industry, remember, we don't get the billions that the bus companies get annually from government, even though we transport 70% of the passengers, even here in the Western Cape. We need assistance so that we can be in charge, and there are ways, there are technologies that can allow us to do that. All we need is help from the government of the Western Cape.
Do you think then, given that position, there is still room for negotiation, room for compromise between yourselves as taxi associations and the Western Cape government?
It's up to the Western Cape government to come to us and say, this is what we think can work. We have made various proposals to say, even if Blue Dot was unaffordable, as they were saying, there were critical elements from that program that should not have been discontinued, like the branding of all vehicles in the Western Cape, the assignment of unique codes to each vehicle in the province, the ability to track those vehicles, the ability for users, commuters, and other road private users to rate and report our vehicles when they misbehave on the roads. Those elements should have been kept, and we have been pleading with government, please assist us. We've gone as far as saying, even at our ranks, we want as Santaco in the Western Cape to have road safety ambassadors who will go and do monthly inspections at the rank to check the status of the vehicles that are transporting our people and report where there are vehicles with serious defects. And then we look at ways of assisting those operators so that we can transport our people in dignity.
There were reports of a meeting that could happen, I think, tomorrow, Thursday. Are you able to confirm tonight if indeed you will be meeting with the city to try and find a way out of this situation?
We are not meeting with the city. We have called when there was a task team that was set up between the province and the city of Cape Town and the taxi industry. We have pulled out of that task team, as you would have seen that JP Smith is bragging about having impounded 1,000 vehicles every month. The results of that is that we've had around 500 vehicles in this year that have been repossessed. Just one financing institution, which has a disastrous effect on our operations and the operators and the people that were supposed to be transporting, the poorest of the poor. So the meeting is with us as industry, with the chairpersons of all the primary associations in the province, and we will look at how do we move forward.
And how tense, Mandla, is the situation in the Western Cape at the moment? I mean, yesterday we saw full-on clashes, violence basically, between officers and some of the taxi drivers, we're told. At the moment, is it your sense that the ground basically is fertile for a repeat of the ugly scenes we saw yesterday?
Today our operations were normal, and tomorrow it will be business as usual again. What will happen, there is no tension as we speak now. Our drivers are on the road doing what they wake up every day to do, take people to work, take people to hospitals, schools, etc. And we will be doing that tomorrow again. And it's only the meeting that will give us a way forward when we have consulted with our stakeholders tomorrow. But for now, it's business as usual.
Mandla Hermanus, chairperson of Santaco in the Western Cape. Good to have your time, sir. Thank you.